Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to the Melissa M.A.D.E Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello, and welcome to the Melissa M.A.D.E Show. I have an episode for you where I polled my Instagram audience asking for questions. And so this is going to be kind of a quick Q&A. And of course, and I'm not surprised that a lot of the questions I got were about intermittent fasting. And so this one is going to be dedicated to intermittent fasting because it was by far the most questions that I got. So I figured if I do this one first, maybe later on down the road, we can kind of dip our toes into other subjects besides intermittent fasting, but it definitely is my passion. And so I understand people's interest. I understand why they follow me. And then of course I understand the skepticism because of the information that's out there. So even just yesterday, I recorded a podcast with Dr. Littman. I'm not sure if it'll come out before or after this, probably after. But he's an incredible doctor. He's 67 years old, has practiced integrative and functional medicine for over 42 years. And he's just one of the pioneers in this realm. And keep in mind that integrative and functional doctors, instead of, doing critical care or, prescribe a bunch of, pharmaceuticals to kind of mask what's going on, they really dig, just like nutritionists and NTPs, they really dig into the root of the problem. So if you have a headache, I don't want to give you an aspirin. I want to figure out why you have the headache. They're the same way. So he's a very, very, very smart man. And I didn't say anything. And I didn't have him on the show because of intermittent fasting, but sure enough, he brought it up all by himself and talked about how important it was for overall health, especially as you age. And I just sat there beaming, going, geez, every incredibly smart person that I know, especially in the medical field, that really understands the human body and aging and, hormones and genetics and epigenetics and all this, they tout intermittent fasting. So it was a great moment. So if you watch the YouTube video, you'll see me just light up when he mentions intermittent fasting. But I have 7 questions that came up, and they're very common questions. But I know I have some podcast listeners that maybe don't watch or read many of my Instagram videos and posts, and so they don't know the answer to this. So this is a great place for me to put it. And if you are a fellow intermittent faster and you're pretty good at it, and people have questions, you can always bring them to this podcast to help them understand what it is, the benefits of it. And if they have questions about it, I guarantee it's probably one of these 7, if not a few of them. But keep in mind that intermittent fasting, or time restrictive eating, as it's been called lately, is just, eating within a certain window instead of having that free for all. And I don't know. I'm a little bit hot and bothered by the fact that so many people that haven't looked into the research or don't really think about it are just so perplexed by eating in a shorter window versus eating all day long. If you just look at our history throughout time, most of what we did, labor-wise was, on an empty stomach, but we'll get into that. But we're all this, I know why we do it. When we really love something, we will defend it. We'll get angry and we'll defend it, even if we don't have a good reason why. It's like, I just like to eat, so I want to eat all day long. I like my sugar, so I just want to eat my sugar. So that's, I know, where most of the people who come and speak up about, anything that is a little bit more difficult than to eat all day long. They do have their 2 cents, and that's okay. But I'm here to be the voice of reason for you. So time restricted feeding, you could do it as little as not eating for 14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours a day. Some people will incorporate a 24-hour fast, on occasion, and some people will do extended fast, which I never recommend you do without, the care of a professional, especially if you're kind of new to fasting. That's just definitely not the area I want you to start in. Start with a little tiny fast, just if you normally eat 16 hours a day, try 14 hours a day for a while, and then maybe try 16, see if that's your sweet spot. Maybe 18 will be your sweet spot. Maybe 14 will be the one that works best for you. But you are very individual, and your fasting schedule should not look exactly like everybody else's, especially the person that maybe you admire that does fast. Their hours don't necessarily mean that they're going to be your hours as well. But intermittent fasting really helps raise our human growth hormone levels, and it also helps lower our insulin levels. So those are two really important things. As we age, our human growth hormone, our HGH, diminishes, because like I've always said, once you reach your non-fertile years, the world sees you as useless. So all of the things that keep you young just kind of plummet. And, we still are out here going, but I want to live. I want to see my grandkids. I want to see my great grandkids. I want to see the world. So you want to live a long time. And so continuing to keep those levels of human growth hormone up is really important. And also keeping your insulin levels down is also important, because too much insulin, chronically raised insulin is just associated with so many autoimmune disorders. And so we really want to keep the insulin down. During your fasting, your body's cells also change the expression of the genes, and they also have been shown to help with living longer. And now those studies have only been done in mice and rats, because, it's humans live a long time. So we haven't been able to study that with humans, but mice and rats have a very, very extremely similar structure as we do, as far as brain, cells, digestion. It's incredibly similar to humans. So there are no human studies on proving that fasting helps with longevity. But in mice and rats, it is ridiculous. It's up to, I think it was 50 to 80 something % longer by being a faster. And a lot of that has to do with, controlling your calorie intake. But fasting is a very, I think, pleasant way to calorie restrict versus trying to eat all day, but little tiny bits, here and there. I would constantly be hungry. I want a good sized meal. So the time restricted eating helps me with that calorie restriction as well. And it also helps with your cellular repair processes, or what they call autophagy, which is always happening in your body. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't happen if you don't intermittently fast, but intermittently fasting actually boosts it up a little bit more. It really helps with that cell renewal, which I don't even need to go into why. It's so important to get rid of, damaged and diseased cells, and to keep all of those nice and clean in there versus, not having that autophagy revved up every once in a while to go through the body and to find those that are just not functioning well. They're old, they're damaged, they're diseased, and they literally get eaten up, because I'm sure you know that autophagy stands for self-eating. And that's a really good thing. So keep that in mind. Intermittent fasting can also have many benefits for the body and the brain. Of course, it can help with weight loss. Like I said, most of that is because there is a reduction in calories. You guys know that the calories in, calories out model is just, for me, not enough. I think that we've kind of abused that, and it's kept us from getting healthy. It might make us a little skinny, but it doesn't make us healthy. And that we really have to focus on how nutrient dense the foods are that we eat. But also keep in mind that we can't eat, 5,000 calories a day of healthy food and still hope to be, nice and lean and trim. Their calorie counting does matter somewhat, but more important than that is what is the types of foods that you're eating. But it can help with weight loss, and it can also help reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And like I said, studies have shown in mice and rats that it can help you live longer as well. I think that's a big one. We all want to live a little longer. And I don't know how true this is. I've always heard the saying that this is the first generation where our children won't outlive us. I've never seen an actual study that says that, but I've heard it many times. And if that's true, I want to break that chain. And I want to teach my children to live in a way that they start to change that again. And once again, we're living longer than our parents did instead of not living as long as our parents did. So the first question that I have, before I go to the questions, let me say that if you have an eating disorder or pregnant or you're really underweight, fasting might not be for you. Now, I have heard, because people share with me success stories all the time, I have heard success stories of people that have had eating disorders, and with their doctor supervision, they actually did a sort of time restricted feeding, and it was incredibly beneficial for them. So I'm not here to say that if you have an eating disorder, disordered eating, that you can't fast, but you absolutely need to, be under the care, very close care of a professional. If you want to give that a try, very, very close care, because I think generally speaking, it exasperates it usually, but there are some people that have positive results with time restricted feeding if they've had eating disorders in the past. So you can't 100% chalk it off, but you also I really don't recommend that you just go about trying it on your own without the care of a professional. So the first question is, can I work out while fasted? Of course you can. Like I said in the introduction, if you look at our ancestry, we did a lot of hard labor before our first meal of the day. I saw on social media, I saw a reel where a gal was saying that, your car, why wouldn't you put fuel in the car to go a long distance? That's your body. You have to put fuel in your body before you can do anything. That makes great sense. And I love the car analogy. And this is one of the very few times that I made a little comment. I tried to be very gracious, but I said, however, unlike a car, the human body stores a lot of energy. And a lot of us have more stored energy than we care to have. And so we do have that energy there solely for the purpose of us to be able to expend energy because we have it stored. So keep that in mind. Again, if you're super lean and you're exercising on an empty stomach, you might be doing your body a disservice because you are so lean and there's nothing there for your body to use except for muscle mass. Nobody wants to lose muscle mass. So if you're super duper 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 lean, it's probably not great for you. But for the rest of us, including myself still, absolutely work out fasted if it works for you. Some people will have branched chain amino acids before their workout. It makes them feel better as far as having those amino acids in their system for their muscle. Totally up to you. It's not going to hinder you. It's not going to make a huge difference. But if it's something that, you feel good about and you believe that it is helping you, then by all means have some branched chain amino acids right before your workout. But you can work out fasted and see great results. I have for over 20 years. So my second question that I got was, will fasting cause muscle loss? Now, keep in mind, if you're trying to lose weight, all weight loss methods, you're going to lose a little bit of muscle mass, which is why it's really important that you keep up on your protein and that you get lots of, quality, nutrient-dense foods in your diet while you're trying to lose weight. And there's studies that show, and I will put in the show notes as I always do, that actually intermittent fasting while trying to lose weight versus just regular calorie restriction actually preserves more muscle than just the typical calorie restrictions. So yes, fasting will cause muscle loss, but so will anything else if you are trying to lose weight. There's nothing that will be 100% fat loss, but you can make it as minimal as possible. And with the study that I will link, you will have proof of intermittent fasting in that particular study, helping you preserve more muscle, okay? So number 3, will fasting slow down my metabolism? No. Again, there are studies that show that short-term fasting actually will boost your metabolism. So I think the sweet spot is 3 days. If you look at the studies, you'll see that your metabolism revs up. Your body is just ready. It's designed for this. It's like, I haven't eaten for 24 hours, so I got to be at the top of my game and be ready to get my food. Now, some people will argue that extended fasts will, put your body into that, super high cortisol adrenal phase. And it's why I recommend longer fasts, because there's a ton of benefits to longer fasts, a ton of benefits, especially 72 hours. Anything over 72 hours is very minimal, but hitting that 72-hour mark every once in a while with care professional is very beneficial, but it is going to put your body at alert. So it's not something that I would recommend that you do very often. And don't look at it as something for weight loss, but more for cleansing and healing of the body. Doing a 3-day fast is not a sustainable way to try to lose weight. That's not why we do it. We do it for the health of our brain and our cells, our insulin production, all of that stuff, but not for weight loss. Okay. Well, fasting slowed down my metabolism. We said no on that, and I will share the studies that go along with that. How about number 4? Should kids fast? I say no. I say no because, what we as parents want to do the most is just have our kids have a healthy relationship with food. So we want to lead by example by eating super healthy foods, but we don't want to put any kind of rules at such a young age, I guess. I don't know if that's the healthiest for kids. They would just want to grow up knowing that food is fuel, that broccoli can be delicious, those dinosaur trees, that, water is good to drink. I see so many kids, I don't think they have a single cup of water a day. Teaching them those good habits is way more important than trying to also enforce, you don't have to eat first thing in the morning, and let's not eat right before we go to bed. Although I would encourage that kids, just like adults, don't eat right before they go to bed, because that will disrupt their sleeping patterns, and they won't get as good of a night's sleep if they've got a really full belly of food, especially if it's not really healthy food. So nothing to do with fasting. They could still eat all day, but, have a solid dinner, and maybe 30 minutes later have a little tiny dessert if that's in the family agenda, and wake up in the morning and when they're hungry to have their breakfast. But at the same time, we don't want to put those kind of rules on small children, because it's hard enough just to get them to like, oh man, even today, my son doesn't like crab and shrimp, I think. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? What did I do wrong? Crab and shrimp are amazing. But we want them to love seafood and vegetables and colorful fruits and all that stuff. So we'll just leave it there with kids and worry about their insulin sensitivity and their human growth hormone later in life. Number 5, can I drink liquids during my fast? Wow, I get this one a lot. And the answer is yes. You can have water and coffee and tea and other non-caloric beverages. But I want you to keep in mind that you don't want to add anything to your coffee or your tea. I want to tell you it's okay just to have a little splash. You've got 15, 20 calories in a pre-workout or in your coffee. It's okay. But don't you think it just kind of tends to get to, I wish you could see it on YouTube. I'm just like pretending to accidentally pour a whole lot when I want it just to be a splash. We tend to just get more and more lenient. Before you know it, you've got like 3 tablespoons of heavy cream in your coffee. And that's like 300 calories. And that definitely breaks your fast. So people ask me all the time if they can drink water on their fast. I don't talk about religious fasting. I'm talking about fasting for your health. And I want you to engulf yourself in water. I want you to constantly be drinking water. Have your tea, have your coffee, your black coffee. Yes, have a diet soda every once in a while. That's okay. Not 5 a day, but a diet soda here and there, if that helps keep you, in track. There are other fasts like bone broth fast and bulletproof coffee fasts. I don't think those are true fasts. I think true fasts are best for you. And that's 0 calories or, 15, 20, not even enough for your stomach to go, did you just put something in me? Your body's not going to It's not going to be like, oh, whew, I'm fed. That little tiny teaspoon of cream just filled me up. Let's get out of our fasting state. So it's absolutely best to just have water, black coffee, and regular tea. But that little tiny something isn't going to kill you. I've been doing that little tiny something. I've had a pre-workout the whole 20 years I've been fasting, and I still know it has tremendous benefits for me. All right. Number 6, isn't it unhealthy to skip breakfast? The problem is that most stereotypical breakfast skippers have unhealthy lifestyles. So if you ever see a study that says that, the people who skip breakfast eat more, there's a lot of other factors. Smokers, they eat really unhealthy as it is. So they've got really, dysregulated blood sugar levels, and they probably have some pretty messed up guts. And this makes a huge difference. If they would do a study on really healthy people that skip breakfast, which, why would they do that? They would find that those people are ridiculously healthy. Just like I said in the introduction with Dr. Littman and all of his studies. And when he wrote his anti-aging book, intermittent fasting was one of the big ones, because it really helps the body run better if you don't eat first thing in the morning. And I've said this a million times with Sasha Panda, that he's the circadian rhythm. I got to get him on my podcast. How many times have I mentioned him now? Anybody know him personally? Would love to talk to him. And he says he promotes intermittent fasting, just like all the smart people do. But he says that even if you're not going to intermittently fast, you need to wait at least an hour for the rhythm of your body. Wait an hour after you wake up before you eat. So, it's okay to skip breakfast, or it's okay to wait to eat your breakfast. You don't have to eat it first thing. It's really, for the human body, it's preferred that you don't. And if you can put it off a couple more hours from even the hour that Dr. Panda says not to eat, then you are really putting a lot of benefit on your body, raising that human growth hormone and keeping that insulin level down. Okay. And the last one is, can I take supplements while fasting? Yes, you can. So you want to keep in mind that some supplements, like your fat soluble ADEK, you're supposed to take them in the presence of fat. But I know that even Metagenics, their vitamin D, is in a capsule that has a little tiny bit of fat in it. So you don't have to take it with food. So if you're really careful about your supplementation, you can take all of them during fasting, and it's not going to break your fast whatsoever. They're micronutrients. They're not macronutrients. So your body's not going to feel fed. And so you're okay to take your supplements. There are some that need to be, if it's like a prescription, and there's some that need to be taken with food, then I wouldn't try to take it while you're fasting. It might upset your stomach or something. And zinc has been known to give you an upset stomach if it's taken without food. So you just have to kind of play around, but you could probably take the majority of your supplements on an empty stomach. I think all the ones that I take, I know I take them on an empty stomach, and I always feel perfectly fine. But I don't take zinc. Not that I shouldn't, I just don't do it right now. So I hope those 7 questions were helpful to you. I'm trying to make my own personal podcast a little bit shorter, because I'm telling you, when I was going to create this podcast, I told Steve, my marketing guy, I said, I can't even say this out loud. I really want these podcasts to only be between 20 and 30 minutes. Every time I get a guest on, I just sit here, they're celebrities to me. These people that have written these books, these doctors, these scientists, and I'm just in awe of them. And I just let them talk, and I learned so much from them. So they're always like 45 minutes to an hour. So I'm trying to make the personal podcast just a little bit shorter, and I probably failed miserably, but I hope this was helpful to you. I love your questions. Doing these kind of podcasts for me are so easy. So hopefully this is helpful for intermittent fasting. Questions about the M.A.D.E diet are more than welcome. I get a lot of questions about parenting. It's very humbling, very humbling. I do have good kids. Maybe one day I can do a podcast with Mick and we can talk about parenting, because believe it or not, our parenting styles are different, but somehow we made it work, and our kids didn't kill us or each other. So as always, you guys don't know how much it means to me when you message me to tell me that you listened to a specific podcast and you enjoyed it. It lights my world, just to say the least. So As always, remember that M.A.D.E stands for making a difference every day. I want you to wake up prepared, and I want you to go to bed proud. You guys have a great day. Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.